If you're working your butt off in your leadership role and you don't feel like you are getting the recognition you feel like you deserve, chances are it's not because you need to work harder. And if you're feeling frustrated because you feel like nobody knows the value that I contribute to this organization, then I want you to know that this video is for you. That's because in this video, we're going to unpack the reason why, despite your hard work, you might be flying under the radar, the simplest way for you to get the recognition you so deserve without being self-promotional or manipulative. And then we're going to talk about why building a brand is not just important for your career, but important for the world as a whole. But first, we have to ask the $250,000 question, which is, but Mac, shouldn't my work just speak for itself? Now, of course, in an ideal world, your work would speak for itself. But the truth is, not everybody is going to know what you're doing. And sometimes they do know what you're doing. However, they do not understand how it is valuable to the organization. For instance, maybe you might have just implemented a project management system for your team to track their tasks. Now, on the surface, that might be a very mundane thing, right? We're trying to track the tasks and make sure people are completing their work. Now, for the decision makers looking on, they might just really think of it as being simply mundane. But underneath the surface, the value that it brings is that it's actually going to reduce the amount of time spent on project delivery by 20%. And maybe it'll improve communications across the team, which will actually improve the delivery and the results that the clients get. This is why you cannot leave these things to chance and why it is important for you as the manager to articulate the value that you are bringing. But I know that is easier said than done because oftentimes you just don't know where to start. So if you want to know where to start, then keep on watching. Now, have you ever noticed that there are some managers who do very little, yet they are often praised for their good work, and then there are others who are doing a whole lot under the radar, but they don't necessarily get the recognition that they deserve? Well, why do you think that is? It all boils down to the fact that some of these decision makers are busy. They are singularly focused on the important things and don't necessarily have the time to get into the minutia of who did what and when. I personally have been in some of these rooms where the stakes are so high and you are focused on saving an entire department instead of getting into the specifics of who did what and what their contributions were, which is why the managers who make it very easy for you to see what it is they're doing, or they say specifically what it is they're doing, that's why oftentimes those are the managers that get the recognition. Which brings me to the next logical question that you might have, perhaps. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, okay, Mac, I get it, right? These managers are spotlighting or articulating exactly what they're bringing to the table, whether or not they're bringing it to the table or not, but they're doing that, right? They're articulating it to the decision makers. And so as a result, their contributions aren't flying under the rug like mine, but I'm not them, meaning I don't want to feel like I'm being self-promotional or cringy. Right? I'm sure that's what you're thinking, because that's what I would be thinking if I were you, if I'm being honest. And so I get it. I want you to know that I get why that might feel kind of uncomfortable. So here's the piece of advice that I'd like to offer you. It's something that has definitely helped me, specifically as an introvert that doesn't like being in the spotlight. I have turned it outwards. Instead of really thinking about the fact that, okay, I'm promoting myself and I'm talking to everybody about what I'm doing, I think about it as my team, right? I'm highlighting my team's contributions and how they are the ones that are truly incredible. Let me give you a couple of examples that might help you contextualize what this might sound like. So did your team crush their goals this week? Well, why not bring that up as a topic for celebration during your one-on-one with your direct manager? Has a team member of yours expressed interest in growth? Well, why not share this interest with a company influencer by letting them know that you are actively working on a development plan for that team member? Because this shows that you are the type of leader that is able to grow and develop people. And it also plants the bug that your team is an incubation of future leaders. Have y'all as a team learned something new after a challenging period that you think could benefit other people? Well, why not share your learnings in the next, let's say, all-staff meeting? Better yet, have your team member share it on your behalf at the staff meeting. Listen, if you are not talking about the ROI and the contributions of your team, then you are more than likely stifling their ability to expand in their careers, which I know is not something you want. So please don't look at this as being selfish. Look at this as you truly serving your team and allowing your team to expand because of the fact that you're highlighting them and saying, hey, look, they're killing it. Building a brand at work is simply about your reputation. And we always say it on this channel, which is that your team is a direct direct reflection of you. And so if you're building your reputation, you're actually building their reputation. It is that simple. Now, I know a lot of you watching this video right now are probably a lot like me and actually feel a lot more comfortable going under the radar and not talking about your achievements and all those things, which brings me to my next point, which I think is the most important point that I'm going to share in this video today. Now, if you had have asked me 5 years ago if I would have had a YouTube channel where I would have been branded as an expert or a thought leader in my field, I would have laughed. Quite honestly. And I would have laughed because that just wasn't me. And honestly, it kind of makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable saying these things out loud right now, which just goes to show how uncomfortable I feel about these things. But the reason I bring it up is because I want to talk about why, right? Because if I don't like it, if I don't like that kind of attention, then why am I doing this? Why? Why am I investing so much time and energy into it? Well, it all boils down to one thing, and I think that you can relate to this as well. I just have a deep desire to make a difference in other people's lives, right? I really do feel that way. And I'm just in this season of my life right now where I have been poured into and invested into by so many incredible mentors. I talk to you guys about them all the time on this channel. And so I feel like I'm in this season or at this time in my life where I can give back to other people by sharing the insights that I've learned, by passing on all these gold nuggets that they shared with me. And so because of that, I make myself a little bit uncomfortable to share it because otherwise, what am I doing, right? Otherwise, I'm not having the impact that I want or not making the difference that I want to make. Now, maybe you don't have the same sort of goals as I do within this context of, having a YouTube channel or something. So let's look at it a different way. You might have goals in your career to advance into positions where you can make a change and be a positive disruptor in the lives of so many people. But if you are not building your brand, actively building your brand at work, then you might never get there. And instead, it'll go to somebody who could care less and who actually only cares about the title and the power and the money, as opposed to changing people's lives or changing the environments, which, to be quite honest, need to be changed. When I first started this YouTube channel, I used to say something at the very beginning of all my videos, which was, true leaders change lives. And I said it every single time because I really believe it. I do. I truly believe that leaders that care are the ones that are changing lives every single day. And I know you're one of those. That's why you're watching this video today. But man, wouldn't it really stink if, because you're not actively building your brand, if someone else that didn't care got into the room and got into that seat? Which is why I'm really pleading and encouraging you to actively work on your brand. Because when you do that, it'll be so easy to place you in the seat when it's available so that you can actively make the changes in the workforce and in the environment that is positive, that will end up affecting people's lives for the better. Now, with all that being said, working on your brand is simply not going to be enough, right? Because you want to be a leader of substance. I feel like building a brand should kind of be the cherry on top. And so if you want to be an impactful leader that walks the talk, then I want you to watch this video here next.